Hey everyone, it's Kate Johnson with the Bookkeeping Side Hustle Group. Welcome to this demo of Melio. Melio is an app that is meant for accountants and bookkeepers and small businesses too, but we're going to figure out how we can use it in our practices. We have the main Melio man, David Leary, who's here to tell us all about it and give us a demo. I'm really excited. I used Melio last week for the first time inside my QuickBooks Online accountant portal. I had a vendor I had to pay for something for my business, and I thought, I want to give this a shot. And then I said, David, let's, I know there's more that I need to learn about this. So, and kind of my method of attack here is I just try to share how I'm building my business with the Bookkeeping Side Hustle community so they can, if what I'm doing works, then they can copy it, they can choose to copy it. So that's why we're learning. I'm going to be asking questions that I specifically have about Melio, and then we also want y'all to ask questions too. I'll be watching the comments on my second screen here while David is doing the demo. We'll definitely have a Q&A at the end. I might ask some questions while he's doing that, if they're appropriate, but based on what he's talking about. But that's how this is going to go. I'm excited to do a demo here. So David, welcome to your first appearance on the Bookkeeping Side Hustle Group. Thanks so much for being here. And I think we've got a great crowd who will really be able to benefit from this. We hear about these things we're supposed to be doing, accounts payable, accounts receivable for clients, but for the new folks, sometimes we don't know exactly technically what that means. And so I know you'll be able to help us answer some of those questions. And so tell us about yourself, give us your little intro, and then we'll dive in.
Yeah, we'll jump in. I actually have a slide a little bit more about myself, but I'm happy to be here because we've quietly soft launched. We've been working on this accountant's journey since I started at Melio first week of February. So basically the first week of COVID.
Okay. Much, right? Oh gosh.
So it's been, I have yet to meet teammates face to face. It's kind of been that type of a journey. But we've quietly, left our beta. So we were in beta up to this point. But now anything I'm going to show you today is available today. You don't have to email me and ask, can you turn this on for me or anything special? I kind of have it's video, it's playing in the background. So we basically have added a bunch of functionality to Melio over the last 6 months that's really driven by what accountants and bookkeepers need. And I'll get into, Melio, but at some level, Melio was built for small business owners and nobody ever talked to accountants. So it took us 6 months of talking to accountants, building an accountant's need, and the journey's not done, right? It's going to keep going. So I'm going to switch over to screen share. I'm actually going to turn off this background because I just suspect it'll just make my computer run too slow when we actually start cruising through the demos. So
all right,
let me go to this background and
y'all. While he's turning that off, I want to say if you comment on this video, I'll draw one lucky winner tomorrow morning. Anyone who watches it in this next 24-hour period, you'll get a copy of my Bookkeeping Side Hustle Guidebook. So comment, ask questions. We're here to make David, stand up for his product, and we're gonna poke at it, because we want it to work. So here we go.
I could toss in some Melio swag somehow and get that to you, and you could put it with the book if you want.
So yes, cool. Yes. So if you comment on this, you'll get your name in a hat, and I'll send you my ebook, and David will send you the coolest Melio swag.
We'll get something. We'll get something out.
All right,
we're
cool.
We're ordering. We're just started that journey of ordering swag, designing swag.
All right, it'll be a first person, and they can send you a picture and tag you on it.
Yes,
cool.
Perfect. Good.
All right, what do we got?
I'm gonna share my screen. Everything. I got all my stuff arranged so I can see and click. Is clicking gonna work? Clicking works. All right, we're in business here. Okay.
I see the what you're showing. So you're
slides
good.
Working. All right, perfect.
Yep,
Got it. So I'm David Leary. I'm the Director of Accounting, Bookkeeping, Evangelism at Melio. Previously to Melio, I was at Intuit for almost 22 years. And I started out doing tech support for the QuickBooks DOS product. So my whole career has been QuickBooks, essentially. The last 6 years of my career at Intuit, I spent really building out all the add-on apps in the app marketplace. So apps.com, the QuickBooks App Store. So all those apps that add on to QuickBooks. So your T-sheets, your auto entries, your hub docs, Funbox, just on, the list goes on and on and on. So all those add-ons you're used to seeing, that add-on to QuickBooks and in the marketplace. I really worked with all of them to build out that marketplace for QuickBooks.
Okay.
Even during that time at Intuit, some of you, if you've been around a little bit, used the old QuickBooks Desktop product and the old QuickBooks Desktop Payroll. I built a product on that called View My Paycheck. So that was my baby a long time ago. It's a very long time ago. I think it's long enough now where I think Intuit's killed it and they've launched a new product with a slightly different name, but called Workforce or something. But essentially, it's the same premise. It's basically View My Paycheck. I co-host the Cloud Accounting podcast. I put on an accounting conference called Accounting Salon. I now own my own company, which is really eye-opening for two reasons. One, everything I've done has always been theory. These apps, the cloud, everything's always been in theory. And so when I had my own company, the very first transaction, I had to buy actually it was swag. I had to get some swag. So I ordered the swag. I got the invoice in my email. I took my invoice, my email, the bill. I forwarded that to AutoEntry. AutoEntry scanned it, put it into my QuickBooks Online. Over here, I paid for it with my credit card. The bank feed downloaded that and QuickBooks matched it all. And I'm jumping up and down in my kitchen. I'm like, this stuff really works. Like all these apps connecting and moving data around really works. But on the other hand, what's been very eye-opening about this, my tolerance for apps that mess up my QuickBooks is gone. Like, so like before, they said it was always in theory and testing. Okay, it messed it up, no big deal. But now I really can empathize with accountants and bookkeepers when their clients' data gets messed up because of an app making bad choices. Really, ultimately, the app making a bad choice and sending incorrect information to your QuickBooks. Right. So that was a really eye-opening for me on that journey. And then I was at AutoEntry. AutoEntry got bought by Sage. I didn't leave Intuit to get a job at another gigantic company, right? And so I was on a little bit journey, and then now I'm part of the Melio at Melio.
Ha!
So all of you can join our family too. It's definitely open for everybody. Now, if you look, that is all my contact information. Feel free to jot it down. That is my cell phone. Do not call it. You can text me, because if you call it, I'm usually doing a Zoom or a webinar like this, and you're not gonna be able to get hold of me. But please feel free to reach out with any questions, etc.
That's great. Yeah, well, I'll try to share that too. I'll get this on the YouTube channel, but I'll pull that contact information out to make it really easy for people to find. And
then going back to my title itself, so I took this word evangelism with me throughout my career, later the last half decade or so. And the reason I like that word is I feel like it can go two directions. So at one level, yes, my job is to go out there on the mountain and scream from the top of my lungs how great Melio is. Right? But really, the more important part of my job is to go to Melio's developers, Melio's product developers, our internal teams, our product managers, our marketing people, our support team, our founders, and explain to them how important accountants and bookkeepers are and the problems they're solving, so we build the correct product for accountants and bookkeepers. Like, I don't have to scream on a mountain how great Melio is if we just make Melio as great as it is, right? So I look at this as a two-directional thing. Like, it's just as important for me to internally evangelize Melio at accountants and bookkeepers that is for me to externally evangelize Melio. So.
I would say that's probably the app companies that don't do that are the ones that you would get really mad about when you connected to your QuickBooks and it messed up your QuickBooks. If they're not asking the users, how is this going? It's going to be a disaster really quickly. Something's going to get built wrong. Something's not going to connect right. And so it's good that you're wanting our feedback to make sure, like, this is how I'm using it. This is how my client's using it, and working that two-way relationship, like you said.
Yeah, I mean, we've done hundreds of Zoom calls I've done with accountants over the last 5 months.
Awesome.
So just lots and lots and lots. So enough about me. Let's jump in. So
okay.
Meliorism. So this is just from dictionary.com, and it's the doctrine that the world tends to become better or maybe made better by human efforts, right? And historically, in some of the romantic languages, Melio's meant more well. And for me, I think the easiest definition is that Melio means better. Nice and simple.
Okay.
Melio means better. So what is Melio? Melio is easy to use business payments and receivables. And when I say easy to use, like crazy easy to use. So if you use Venmo, if you use PayPal, if you use Zelle, any of those peer-to-peer payment platforms, they're super easy to use. And the fundamental movement of money back and forth is free. The basics, getting money from one person to the other person, is free. And so those tenets, in fact, are some of the founders, and you'll see this in Melio. Moving money is free. and it's super easy to use. So you'll see those founding tenets carry through in Melio. And in fact, the founders of Melio were at PayPal when PayPal bought Venmo, and they ran the engineering teams for the peer-to-peer payments division there. And so they really questioned fundamentally, why can't businesses pay each other as easy as you can with a product like Venmo? And that's what, when I say easy, you're going to see this as I show you the product. It's super, super easy to use. Something that really all your clients could use. You could feel comfortable putting a client in this product because it's not scary, right? It's not intimidating.
So I have a quick question, and it was one of the ones I'd written. So how's Melio gonna be profitable? Like if the moving money is free, I want to make, this isn't, you got to make money somehow. So what's the route that y'all are gonna?
And I'll get into it a little bit deeper, but we let people pay bills with credit cards.
Okay.
And we charge a fee if you do that. So if you pay a bill with ACH or paper check, that's free. But if you pay a bill with a credit card, there's a fee for that. So it's a business model where as long as some people pay, a lot of people could use it for free.
All right.
Similar to, I don't know if you ever used Evernote.
I have not.
Okay, so Evernote, they always had this model. As long as like 5% of the Evernote users pay for Evernote Premium, everybody else can use the basic features of Evernote for free. It's kind of a similar model. Like some people pay some bills with credit cards and pay the fee, right? This can be free for everybody.
Okay, cool.
Got it. So who's Melio for? So if you think about like a sliding scale of the market, right? You kind of have free and easy solutions over here on the left. And I put ish because you're going to see why in a moment, to the other side where it's expensive and complex. And so yes, the bank website to pay a bill is super, super free. Ish, right? You have to type in the things twice. We all know that paper checks and handwritten paper checks or printing paper checks, they have their own expenses and costs and headaches involved on that. But then on the other extreme, right, to pay a bill, the only other options out there in the market are super expensive, complex AP, enterprise level AP software, right? And so those are going to be packages where you need 5 departments that all have to sign off on the bill, and you have 3 managers and a CFO and a controller and a VP to sign off on the payment to get a bill payment out the door, right? Mm-hmm. But the reality is most small businesses are over here on the left. And I've talked to accountants and bookkeepers that, on my slide, I put 90%, but I've talked to a lot of small businesses where it's 98% of their clients. Mm-hmm. They barely have any clients that need that heavy, expensive, complex solution, right? And I've always felt there's been a gap in the market. There really has been a gap in the market. Nobody's figured out how to build something in between. Everybody's either working over here on paper checks for the bank's website, or if they can justify the cost, they come over and get some enterprise level software. But it leaves a gap for most small businesses. And this is where, because Melio, their pricing model, they figured out how to fill this gap and make this free for everybody. So ultimately, Melio is going to be the solution for all of your clients to pay their bills, except for you're going to have some one-offs. You might have a really big enterprise client that needs to have 6 people approve a bill and a bill payment before it gets out the door. In that case, maybe Melio is not the right fit, but for most of your clients, it's going to be the right solution versus right now, if you can't justify expensive and complex, you probably tell the client, just use your bank website, which sucks. It's not easy to use. It doesn't sync to QuickBooks. Many reasons why you don't want to do that. So is this kind of clear before we click through? Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Anyone have questions? Type them in. I got the screen right here. They're flowing. There's no questions yet, just a lot of comments saying they're glad we're doing this, David. I thought, I'll give one quick story. I have a client who used to pay a subcontractor every once in a while. It was like a lawyer who would write some expert opinions for him. And he used to be able to pay him through his bank, and for some reason the bank stopped that. So I get a message from Gusto, this guy's an S Corp, so he's on payroll himself, and he starts to pay his vendor $1,000 via Gusto, and it's like $6 a month to do that or something. And that's the case study that I thought, like, I can't wait to tell this guy about Melio, because it's a lot easier than having to like go in and sign someone up for luckily he did it all himself. I guess it didn't really affect my life at all, but he would have been perfect to pay this expert opinion dude via Melio. So
yeah, and the nice thing is with and we'll get into the workflow a little bit more when we talk about how it works, right? So you basically add a bill, You choose to pay the bill the way you want to pay the bill. So if you want to pay the bill with a credit card, you can pay the bill with a credit card. If you want to do an ACH transfer, you could do that. And then the vendor gets to choose how they want to be paid. If they want ACH, that's great. If they want a paper check, that's great. So that's the real magic in between the two is regardless of how you want to pay, the vendor gets paid the way they want. And the same thing, Kate, if I was to send you money through Venmo, you don't care how I'm paying you. You just got the money. And I don't care if you put it into what bank account you deposited in. I don't care. You just care. So it's the same type of theory with small businesses, right? Me as the vendor, I don't care how you paid me, just as long as I got paid, right? And so it eliminates that weird friction of where some vendors require you to pay this way, then another vendor requires you to pay this way, then another vendor, all that friction goes away. And so it's pretty straightforward. You can type in a bill, you can take a photo of a bill on your phone. The most popular way, the best way I argue is just to have it sync with QuickBooks. So you put your bills into QuickBooks and then they'll get sucked over to Melio and then you pay your bills with Melio.
Okay, so last week when I paid this gal who did some transcription work for me, she sent me like an invoice, but I didn't actually go the QuickBooks route. I started in Melio and just did it that way. But you're saying the better way would have been for me to open my QuickBooks, add her as a vendor, create a bill, and then go to Melio? I guess you'll take us through it.
Yeah, I think if you remember, I made that comment about like Melio was really built for small business owners. Not so much, doesn't have all the things you and I care about as accountants and bookkeepers, right? It doesn't have those things. And then, so an example of this is when you take a photo or put a bill in and coming through Melio, it has what small business owners care about: the name, the amount, and the date, right? And that's about it. But you as the accountant or bookkeeper may want all the line items. You want to put the classes.
I wanted class and I didn't have that.
You don't have any of that. So you really, there's much better ways to get that into QuickBooks. To be honest, you could use AutoEntry, HubDoc, Receipt Bank. Even QuickBooks now has a bill scanning feature because you want all the line items scanned. Like you as the accountant or bookkeeper want a lot more details. And yeah, so usually that's the better route is to use something to shove it into QuickBooks and then take it from and then Melio will pull it over to.
All right. Okay.
QuickBooks. So I'm going to do a demo. First, it's a quick little tour of how Melio looks. And then I'm going to do a demo that's going to be a paying of a bill. I'm going to pay a bill from Melio. I'm going to pay a bill from QuickBooks. And then I'm going to basically show it side by side so you can see the differences of the two. So let me jump in and just give a quick Melio tour here. Okay. So as accountants and bookkeepers, when you come into Melio, you're going to have a client's dashboard. I do not have one because I just have my own real company. So this is my real company that I use. You're going to see that I have to pay my admin a lot to test. I pay her for the work she does, but I pay her in a very bad way because I test things in Melio to pay her. And you'll see like, oh, I pay her 1 hour at a time just so I can run things through Melio and really test the product a lot.
Okay.
So, but you'll have a dashboard where you'll have all your clients here. So if you have 10 clients, all 10 clients will be listed here. And you can easily see how many bills are in the inbox to pay, how many are scheduled, if anything failed, any alerts, things like that. So the navigation of Melio is pretty straightforward. You kind of have a left menu bar here to navigate through. There's and then there's the right part of the screen. So it's kind of a left to right workflow. And so the companies, this takes you to your dashboard. Pay, this is the accounts payable features of Melio. Get paid is the accounts receivable. Contacts is pretty straightforward. It's your list of customers and vendors. They're just in here. And then settings is going to be the same settings you're used to seeing in most accounting software package or add-on apps for accounting software packages. You got your profiles, your company settings, ability to manage users, the ability to connect it to accounting software. Mine's currently connected to QuickBooks, right? It's standard settings. But then in Melio, you have two extra set of settings really that are unique to Melio, which is one, the payment methods, right? This is where you can say, here's how I want to pay bills. In my case, I have 2 checking accounts, a debit card, a personal credit card, and my other credit card, a business credit card, all hooked up to Melio. So I could use any of those to pay a bill if I want. Doesn't matter which one I want to pick at the time. And then for receiving on the accounts receivable, I want my accounts receivable to go to a different bank account, right? And I choose that and have it to go to that other bank account.
Let me ask a quick question about the accounting software. So this, I use QBO in my practice, but I try to be platform agnostic when it comes to my bookkeeping side hustle work. it works with any, I mean, it's in Xero. Is it in?
Not yet. So we right now we are only QuickBooks Online. The two big requests are QuickBooks Desktop and Xero. So
Okay.
I imagine eventually it'll probably be QuickBooks Desktop, Xero, maybe Sage Intacct, right? It depends on if Sage Intacct might actually be a little too, like they kind of fall in that 2% area, right? On that other graph. But definitely Xero's on the radar, QuickBooks Desktop's on the radar. People want these other accounting software packages for sure.
Okay.
Now you can still use it. You could have your clients be in Xero and you could still use Melio. And you'll have to do a little bit of typing, but you're going to do less typing in Melio than you had to do if you use the bank website still. And then it'll come down the feed and you'll have more details. So even though it doesn't directly integrate with QuickBooks Desktop or Xero, it's still better than using the bank website.
Well, and it's still for free.
And it's still free. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that part.
Got it. And then going back to the navigation. So the accounts payable and accounts receivable kind of works on a folder structure. So if you think about, you have your inbox, so that's the bills you need to pay. Then when you schedule them, they'll move over to scheduled. And then once they're paid, they move over to the paid folder. So it's a little bit of a navigation structure. And the same thing is true on accounts receivable. You can request to be paid. Then when they schedule the payment to you, it'll be in progress. And then when they finally pay you, it moves over to the paid folder. So it's a folder type system.
Okay.
Whoops, I didn't mean to click there. And it's very column based. So when I pick a bill here, I can see the bill on the right-hand side of the screen. Okay? And because it's column-based like this, it works really well on all devices. So if you can imagine if I was on a phone, I'm going to make this nice and narrow. So if this is on a phone, I would just get a nice view, a one-column view. And if I go back, I can see the list of my bills here. And if I click on a bill, I get my one bill displayed. So any device you use it on, it's going to fit and work. So, and obviously, I didn't close or reopen my browser. I just resized it and everything moved around and unsquished and optimized for the device I was viewing it on right now.
So those bills in your inbox, they got there in that inbox because you entered them as bills in QuickBooks Online?
For the sake of conversation, yes. I think one or two of these I might have typed in, so I don't want to. And then one of these I think my accountant typed in. And we'll get into that one when we talk about approvals, but yes. But on the surface, yes. I've synced mine with QuickBooks Online. Yep.
Okay.
I was at Intuit for 22 years. I'm a QuickBooks Online user.
Okay.
I still bleed green a little bit, right? So let's get into paying a bill. And I'm going to just do slides to do the pay bill workflow, just because it's a lot of clicking and it's just more efficient to do in a slide, I think, than to try to show it as a live type of a demo.
All right.
So paying a bill. So here's Melio when it's empty. It's just connected to QuickBooks, but it's empty. So I'm going to go into QuickBooks and create a bill there because it's just better to create a bill there. So I'm going to go to QuickBooks. I'm going to put a bill in, right, for $232.50. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save and close. And now if I go back over to Melio, inside of Melio, the bill I just made is synced and it's here for $232.50. So I want to pay this bill or schedule the payment. So I'm going to click schedule this bill payment. And then it's going to ask me how I want to pay. So I'm going to choose my bank account. I'm going to choose the date I want it withdrawn. I'm going to put in a memo. So let's type in a memo. It's for admin work. And I'm going to hit continue. And so now it just takes me to review and confirm screen. And all the things we just chose are here. The amount, who I'm paying, the bank account I picked, the date. In this case, this vendor I have set up for a paper check, so she's going to get a paper check. And if you notice, the transaction fee is 0 because ACH and paper checks are free. There's no fees. If I were to pay this with a credit card, there would have been a fee, but there's no transaction fee on this.
When you type that memo inside of Melio, is that ever viewable in QuickBooks Online?
This memo does not go back to QuickBooks Online. That's a whole nother thing that I'm working on to make the integration even more robust. But this will go on the paper check that they receive.
Okay.
It will go on the paper check that they receive. And I've actually had some requests from accountants that we should just pull the memo from the transaction and bring it over here from QuickBooks.
Right.
So you don't have to type it in. So we know there's some fields that we have to have a deeper integration on for sure.
I didn't know if it was like the other way. If I typed a memo here, if it would somehow be in my memo in my bank feed on the QuickBooks side. But okay.
So but we talk about bank feeds are interesting because it does show the vendor who you paid the bill to in the bank feed, but one bank shows it, another bank doesn't. It depends on your bank is the quality of the bank feed.
All right.
That's a tricky thing there. All right, and then after you say confirm, you're going to get over to payment's been scheduled. You're going to say done. And now if you notice, the bill has moved from the inbox to the scheduled box.
Okay.
Got it. And so let's go take a peek at QuickBooks. So we jump back over to QuickBooks. Now we have a bill that's been paid for $232.50. So this is a bill payment that's been put into QuickBooks. So I created the bill in QuickBooks, paid the bill in Melio. And the bill itself, if I look at that, I'm going to click bill here. The bill is now marked as paid. Right? So created a bill in QuickBooks, paid it in Melio. And along the way, you're going to get email notifications like, hey, this payment's been scheduled. Then eventually the payment's going to come out of your bank account, right? So you're going to get notified that it's been taken out of your bank account. So this is, it's been processed. And then inside Melio, that's going to move now from scheduled over to paid. So you'll see that it's been paid for $232.50. And it says it's been fully paid, and it shows the date it was processed on and the bank account it was processed on. And then eventually they're going to get the paper check, it'll get deposited, you'll be notified of that as well.
So quick question, because sometimes I get impatient, and so we're not all calling you 30 seconds after we've clicked paid our bill. How fast does that, you know, we're in Melio, we click pay, and then you went back to the QuickBooks Online screen and it said paid. Is that like an instantaneous thing? Is it a 1 hour later thing? Is it 10 minutes later?
You're going to get me on this one. So as we've rolled this out, as we've grown, so it used to be like pretty instantaneous, like 5 minutes. By the time you click over there, you'd see it right away.
Okay.
But then as we rolled out QuickBooks Bill Pay powered by Melio to 3 million QuickBooks users, or what have you, right? Our sync is a little slower than we like. So the engineering team is currently refactoring it and re-engineering it to be more efficient and faster. But in theory, we're using webhooks now. It should go in pretty instant. If not, you can always do a manual sync inside of Melio to get things to come through.
Okay. But we should wait like an hour or two before we send a support ticket to Melio or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, some reasonable amount of time, especially when you first start using Melio. And the reason why is you might have a client who has lots of vendors in their file. And so there's a lot, like that sync is not syncing that one bill the first time. It's got to sync a lot of stuff. And so so sometimes people on their first sync, you don't know it's your first sync, but it's like background syncing that first time. But yeah, you're right. To make everybody's life easier, give it 2 hours. Give it before you.
Okay, fair enough.
It's not here. Yeah, that'd probably be a better use of your time. So you clicking refresh a bunch of times, but it will get over to QuickBooks and vice versa.
I have a question that I think is timely on this bill pay topic. So does Melio have a way for a vendor to automatically send invoices into Melio, where I guess it would maybe get into our inbox?
We do not have that at this time. So the workaround for that would be without spending any extra money, you get an email address now for your QuickBooks. And you can have the vendor email the bills to that email address, and they'll get into QuickBooks, and then we'd pull them over. But at this time right now, we do not have an email address for bills to be emailed in. Okay.
There you go, Sarah Jones. All right, David, where are we now?
Got it. Okay, so QuickBooks Bill Pay powered by Melio. So I think you mentioned early on that, hey, you paid a bill through QuickBooks using Melio. And all of you have by now probably seen this button when you're viewing a bill. Inside of QuickBooks Online, there's now a button that says Save and Schedule Payment. It rolled out a little bit slow, but now everybody should have it. If your client does not have it when you're inside of Melio, either A, they don't have bills, so there's no bill button to pay a bill, or they might be using a different product that's preventing it from appearing, and you might have to unsubscribe or cancel that other product first. So that way you do get the this button that basically launches Melio.
Okay.
So inside of QuickBooks, so now we're green, right? Everything's green. Inside of QuickBooks, let's put a new bill in. So we're going to put a new bill in for $142.50, and we're going to hit Save and Schedule Payment. It's going to take a moment to load up bill pay. I'm going to choose the checking account that I want to use to pay. I'm going to choose when I want it deducted. I'm going to hit Continue. I'm going to put the memo in, sorry. And now I'm going to hit Continue. And we got a review and confirmation screen, similar like we saw before, $142, checking account when it's going to be deducted, and again, no transaction fee. So I'm going to hit Confirm and Schedule Payment. And now I have a bill that is marked paid inside of QuickBooks. So I created a bill and paid a bill, and I never left QuickBooks. Okay? Now let's just peek what happened over in Melio. So now over in Melio, there is now a bill that's been scheduled. So here's the old one for $232. That's the one I did inside of Melio. This is the one I did in QuickBooks, and now it appears right inside of Melio.
So that skipped the inbox.
Because it's not a bill, right? It's a bill. You scheduled the payment, and it's paid, right? So that's the way to think about that. Is you have these are payments. The inbox is really bills, and scheduled would be payments.
Got it.
Right, and then paid is when it's like it's finally out the door. Yep. Got it. And then again, you'll get notified, hey, when it's been deposited, etc. along the way. So, did you notice? Did you notice that these two screens are the same? One is purple, one is green. These two screens are the same. One is purple, one is green. These screens are the same. One is purple, one is green. These are the same. One is purple, one is green. So you have two products here, Melio Payments and QuickBooks Bill Pay powered by Melio. For conversation's sake, Kate, I like just to say purple Melio and green Melio. It just makes it so much easier. It's very clear of what we're talking about when I say green Melio or purple Melio, right?
Okay.
So the nice thing about this, it's really the same product. So the train tracks that's moving the money around are the same, which is great because that means you can dance between the two. Sometimes I'm in QuickBooks, I feel like paying my bills there. Sometimes I'm in Melio, purple, and I like to pay my bills there. I can switch back and forth and it doesn't matter. You can dance between the two because it's the same train tracks. Now, the train cars on those train tracks are different. So, for example, in green Melio, QuickBooks has the ability to pay multiple bills at once, right? So in green Melio, that has a train car to pay multiple bills at once. That does not exist in purple Melio. Purple Melio has accounts receivable, has the ability to set up approval workflows, has the ability to invite users. So purple Melio has some different train cars. Now, some of those train cars could move from one to the other. So in purple Melio, for example, the first time you pay a vendor, we will send an email to that vendor asking the vendor, do you want to get a paper check or do you want to have an ACH deposit? And then the vendor can self-onboard their ACH bank and routing numbers, right? Now, that train car does not exist in QuickBooks yet, but that train car will exist in QuickBooks soon.
Okay.
Right? So they'll never be identical because they're not the same products, but fundamentally the train tracks that are moving the money around are the same. And a lot of people's experience before with other products is you'd have the real product and you'd have a weird product that's not really the same product inside of QuickBooks. So I want to pause here and because conceptually, I think we're probably the first product that has made it so seamless like this. And I think it's hard for people to grasp it. So I definitely will pause for any questions on the differences between the two, green Melio and purple Melio.
Yes, please ask some questions. I'll ask one while we're maybe waiting for some. I mean, where do you see people like getting in a train wreck? Like what do we need to, like, what can you tell us to say, I've gotten 10 questions on this and because they're on the wrong car or whatever. Like, is there something that's kind of a standard misinterpretation that people have?
I think the big difference between the two is probably approvals.
Okay.
So QuickBooks doesn't really have approvals, right? But QuickBooks has permissions. But permissions in QuickBooks are set up at the vendor level. So if you give somebody access to vendors in QuickBooks, they can pay bills. And maybe at one time that didn't matter because your bill payment was never connected to your bank account. But now that matters. And so I think that's the big one that catches people. In those cases, you want to not put those clients or that user in QuickBooks. You want to put that user on purple Melio so you can control what they're allowed to do control whether or not they pay bills. You can set spend limits on them, et cetera. So that's probably the big difference between the two. But in general, you should be able to dance back and forth. And the nice thing about this is you can put the client on what they need to be on. You might have a client that has an in-house AP clerk that needs to pay bills in QuickBooks, have them in that. You might have a business where you do most of the work in QuickBooks and you just need the business owner to approve. You might only put the business owner in purple Melio. So you have the freedom to solve for your client the best way you need to solve for your client. But then for you as the accountant or bookkeeper, you can just dance around and work in either one.
Okay. Any questions from the Bookkeeping Side Hustle viewers? One thing I'm going to do, guys, just so David, he mentioned that he's done a lot of these demos, and it's helpful for the Melio decision makers and how to figure out how David's going to use his time, is to sort of track how people are getting to Melio. So I'm going to toss he gave me a link. It has his name in it. It has the Bookkeeping Side Hustle words in it. If y'all want to test out Melio and see kind of what he's showing, love it if y'all could just click that link too, so he knows how else, what the volume is of people who need support in our group, and we'll bring
plus
it back.
then I just know where you came from, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, oh, look, hey, there was a Bookkeeping Side Hustle. A lot of those people came. They're using Melio now. It just helps us know who we're talking to when people come in.
Exactly. All right. So what do we got here? We got paying by credit card.
Paying by credit card. So this is the thing that makes Melio super unique, right? We let people pay by a credit card. And I think there's 3 big use cases for this, right? You have those clients that just want points. They want their points. They're addicted to their points, right? They want to fly first class, so they want to use their Delta Air Miles card everywhere, right? Or I talked to an accountant that was in Florida, and they have a client that just wants to get the American Express Black Card. So that's a major use case, right? Everybody who wants their points, they could just pay for every bill they have with the credit card. Another use case is to pay non-traditional things. So for example, your rent. Your landlord is not going to let you pay your business rent with a credit card. But with Melio, you could pay it with a credit card, and Melio will mail a paper check to the landlord. So non-traditional items, it lets you kind of float that out. I think the more interesting use case is use case kind of number 3, where you can set your own terms to the vendor. And so think about this use case. You're a restaurant. You're a fine dining establishment. COVID hit. You now have to turn into a takeout restaurant. But you don't have foam boxes and plastic forks because you were a fine dining establishment. Well, you go to the restaurant vendor to go buy foam boxes and plastic forks. The restaurant or the vendor is not going to let you buy those on credit because it's COVID and you're a restaurant. But at the same time, you're a restaurant, you need to hold on to your cash, right? You cannot write a check for a bunch of foam boxes if you don't even know if people are going to buy food from you. Mm-hmm. So you could actually buy the foam boxes, right? The foam food boxes on your credit card. The vendor is going to get the check. You can show them on your phone, hey, look, the check's on its way. They'll get an email notification, right? They can give you the foam boxes. They get paid when they want to be paid. You have some elbow room to pay the bill. Once you start selling takeout food, you could pay your credit card bill after the fact. So it allows you to set your own terms when a vendor won't give you terms. And I think that's the most interesting use case for this.
Very interesting.
And there is a fee, though. To pay by credit card, there is a 2.9% fee.
Okay.
On that. Yeah. Okay. Inviting users is pretty straightforward. And I'll try to, I definitely know you had an army of questions lined up already in the, on the Facebook
yes.
page or event already. So I want to definitely make sure I leave time for those. So I'm going to take I'm going to hammer out 3 more minutes and then we'll jump into questions.
All right,
so
let's do it.
Kind of fast for this. So adding users is pretty straightforward in Melio. I'm just going to click settings, manage users. Basically, you just have to click invite user. You add a first name, last name, and their email address. And then you can invite different types of users. So a contributor is going to be very limited, right? Think of that as a junior bookkeeper that maybe you don't want to mess around with the QuickBooks connection. You don't want to have them mess around with the bank accounts that you're paying from, but they just need to come in and pay bills, right? So you could set them as a contributor, and you can actually set up limits and spend limits on what they can or can't do. If any bills over $10 has to be approved. Accountants is another role. You can invite a fellow teammate or accountant or bookkeeper in, or a small business owner can invite you as their accountant, right? And they can put a spend limit on you, but you can mess around with the QuickBooks connection. You can change bank account data. You have full control over Melio, except for you can't add other admins, right? And you can have a spend control if they put that on you. And then an admin is going to be similar to like QuickBooks. It's an admin. They can do everything type of a role. Okay. And so when you're done, it's going to be a model similar to QuickBooks. You have an owner of the company, you have accountants, and then you have contributors that are in here. So like I have an accountant that's in here. I have my daughter in here. I have another coworker at Melio in here, and I'm okay with it because I've put spend limits. So Zoe, even though I have my own credit cards tied into my Melio, she cannot get in and do any damage because I have her limited to $1, right? So she can't get in and schedule payments more than $1 without me having to approve it. Super, super straightforward to invite users. Approval workflows. So the way to think about approval, so we do have approvals, but they're not overly complicated, right? And I think the way to to think about approval workflows in Melio. If you go back to the old paper check days, right, all week the accountant or bookkeeper would handwrite all the bill payment checks. And then on Friday evening, they would take those checks to the business owner. The business owner, she would look at all the checks and she would sign the ones she wants to pay. The ones that didn't get signed didn't get mailed out the door, right?
Okay.
That's essentially the approval workflow, right? The small business owner is scheduling a bunch of bill payments and the business owner is signing them before they go out the door. That's how it works in Melio. You as the accountant or bookkeeper will schedule the payments. Remember the scheduled folder, they'll go to scheduled, right? And then the business owner will get notified that they need to approve them. And when they approve them, they'll move to paid on the date they were supposed to be moved to paid, right? And there's an audit trail, and I'll quickly show this. So this bill was put in by my accountant, Erin. Erin put that in. I declined it because I don't have a bill for Target for $180. And so the audit trail's there. She created it, I declined it, and that's why it didn't go through. And I'll quickly flip over on the approval. So, oops, I wasn't signed in, or I lost my sign in here. All right, I was going to sign in and show what it looks like for my daughter, who is a contributor, but I don't have her login ready. I apologize for that. So we'll
That's okay.
It's like amateur hour here. I'll scratch that out of the demo here. And then, whoops, I'm going to click the next thing here quickly. Accountant's dashboard. So this is something we have worked hard on the last 6 months and allows you to see all your clients in one spot. This is brand new. We just unracked it Monday morning. So It's brand new, but if any of you sign up for Melio and you say you're an accountant, you're going to get an accountant's dashboard. So you can see your clients. There's going to be a new client button. You can add your clients to this dashboard. It's pretty straightforward. It's really, in a way, it's just the basic what you'd expect, right? You can click the client to go to the client. You can easily scan and see what the status of your clients are. There's a drop-down menu at the top to switch between clients. Very, very straightforward, but this is available. It's not hidden anymore. I don't have to manually turn it on. You get to just jump in and start using that.
Okay.
And I'm going to skip the adding a client demo. Essentially, you're just going to click the button to add a client. It's pretty straightforward. I am going to talk about Melio Me, though, really quickly before we jump into questions.
Okay.
So everybody that gets Melio gets a Melio Me link. And this is the accounts receivable part of Melio. So you can send somebody a link, melio.me minus Sombrero Apps Company. They can come here, put the dollar amount they want to pay me, type in the invoice number. I'll get money in my bank account for the full amount. If they choose to pay by bank or credit card, I don't care. They pay the fee if they're going to pay by credit card. So my customers can pay me through Melio as well. So it's not just accounts payable, it is accounts receivable. So
can I ask an accounts receivable question?
Yes.
So I have very few accounts receivable, right? Like I don't have a accountant, a bookkeeper like me. We have fewer transactions of higher volume, right? I'm not selling $5 things. I'm selling a $300 thing.
Yep.
Can I, right now, I get paid on the first of the month via the QuickBooks Online Merchant Services, whatever it is. I set it up a long time ago. And whenever I get a new client, I schedule a recurring payment for their amount. It's done until...
You're auto withdrawing it probably from their account.
Yes, and I don't allow any client to pay via credit card. I don't want to have the fees, so I only allow bank payments, and I actually even get an ACH signed form, so it's, you know, they do that as a part of their engagement with me. Yeah. So I can go get them. Is that right? I'm thinking I don't want to mess with what I got. I've got something set up great, but is there a reason why someone would be able to do Melio for that? I mean,
you're right. I mean, so this is actually how I found Melio. I had people trying to pay me that wanted to pay with credit card because they wanted their points. And I was like, well, why should I take a 2% hit on my side just because you want points, right? So you can let your clients pay by credit card, but they will pay the fee. So that's one of that's an advantage of it. Now, we don't have it set up to auto withdraw or anything like that yet. It's something the team's talking about doing, but you can use it right now. What I do is every time I send out an invoice out of QuickBooks, I just paste in this link and I say, go here to pay with ACH or credit card. And I just send them that link every time.
So I could set up a recurring invoice. Not right now I have recurring sales receipts, but I can set up a recurring invoice that would have my link in it, which would allow people to pay via credit card if they wanted.
Exactly. You can give them that option.
Wow, what a hack. I hope everyone's
Yes.
listening. We got a pretty decent crowd here. That's great for the accounts receivable side, y'all. We'll hash that out later again, like if anyone needs help really comprehending what we're talking about. If it sounds like we're speaking Greek, tag me. Like, it took me a long time to learn this, but now I don't think at all about invoicing my clients anymore. I have a process. This is how I get paid. But this is a nice little change that I could consider. I have one guy that does wish he could pay by credit card, but I don't want him to.
Yeah. So this helps solve that problem, because I was having that for my own small business, right? Now, a couple of things to remember about the Melio Me, the accounts receivable side. It does not sync to QuickBooks at all yet. You can still use it. It comes down the bank feed, but we do not have a QuickBooks integration on the accounts receivable side yet. The team's working on it. 6 to 8 weeks out. Hopefully, I don't want to jinx anything. We'll see some sort of integration with QuickBooks Online for Melio Me. The other thing to remember is that it's business-to-business payments. So if you're an ice cream shop and a bunch of people are coming in to buy one ice cream cone at a time and they're consumers, they cannot pay you through this. If you cater a business lunch, yes, that business can pay you through Melio Me. Or you're an accountant or bookkeeper, your small business clients can pay you through this, but if you're doing people's personal taxes, they can't pay you through this. So it's only business-to-business right now.
Huh, okay.
So it's something that you have to really keep in mind, because some people are like, oh, I have somebody who wants to charge their clients rent, and all the clients are consumers. If I was a commercial property, real estate, yes, I could use this. But if I'm an apartment complex, I can't use this with my tenants.
Okay.
It's not consumer, it's only business to business. And then this is something that comes up a lot. Melio, yes, it's free. So just to review, there's no sign-up fee. There's no monthly subscription. Mailing checks, there's no fee. Bank transfers is $0. Invite users is $0. Receiving payments is $0. There's only a fee if you pay via credit card. So just super easy pricing. It's free unless you pay by credit card. Pretty straightforward. So I did leave enough time as promised for Q&A. So I'm at the mercy of that huge list you had inside of Facebook there.
All right, I'm gonna open up the whole list of comments here. Will the ability to schedule client payments be available soon? You said hopefully 6 to 8 weeks, but don't want to jinx it.
Oh, to schedule it?
Sorry, to recurring. I'm sure she means like.
Oh, we don't have so 6 to 8 weeks out for the accounts receivable side will probably be a QuickBooks integration.
Okay.
But not recurring. Like, what you want is you want to be able to just set it up once with the client and just have it automatically come to you. That's something the team's talking about, and I think eventually we'll build it, but I don't have like a timeline of when we probably build that.
Okay.
All the accountants and bookkeepers ask for it though. All
right, I got more comments here. Okay, David. Okay. One thing for Steve, Chase is making a comment. A quick side note: if a client pays you with a credit card, then they are exempt from filing a 1099, assuming you're set up as a contractor. So I think that sounds right. Thanks, Steve. We asked Carrie's question. How quickly does the deposit get to their bank account if they're using Melio Me for AR?
For AR, it depends on how your client paid.
Okay.
Right. If they connected, they did it through their debit card or credit card, it's going to be faster than an ACH transfer. If they do an ACH transfer, it's always like a day for us to process from the bank. It goes in the ACH system for a day, then it gets to your bank, and then sometimes, that your bank will get it. The way I kind of frame it for accountants, because technically it's 3 business days, but it's really like if you want to pay a bill and you want them to get it on Friday in their bank account, you need to send it by 11:30 Eastern on Tuesday.
Okay.
Right. So yes, there's 3 business days in there, but there's a lot of dancing with the banks on both ends. Right.
Okay.
Now debit cards are faster. Hopefully one day we'll have next day ACH available. Maybe there's a fee for that. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll have instant payments available. Right.
Okay.
Hopefully we'll have more options.
All right. Trinity, he's talked about the cost on that last slide. Free, except for credit cards. Since Melio is an app, do you only have to enter the bank account and other information like the credit card in QBO, or do you have to enter that into Melio as well?
It won't
Let me see
matter.
if I can answer. Hold on, let me see if I can answer. It's it's either or. You can, like he's saying, you can decide to work inside of QuickBooks Online, or you can decide to work, as logged into Melio. You can either be on the purple train or the green train, purple Melio or green Melio, and you might develop a preference, Carrie, depending on how your workflow goes. I would say you'll probably have to practice it. When you're working in QBO, it sounds like we have more of the information for things that the accountants like us would want, the classes, just more detailed information we'll be able to leave. So
for the bills especially, yes.
For the bills especially, yeah. Okay. Hopefully
but if you add a credit card as a payment method inside of QuickBooks, and you come to Purple Melio, it'll be there. You don't have to go put it in twice. Like I said, it's in train tracks. It's not two different products. Yep.
I don't think I have personally, I only have my bank account connected. I don't have a credit card connected to my QBO. So whenever I think that's how that works. Trinity, you're asking, does it integrate with Xero? So it is, you can use via Xero. He answered this at the beginning, so I'm just trying to practice myself. So there is not the seamless integration like there is with QBO now, but you can open up a Melio account, and your Xero users can have a Melio account and still use all of it, but it won't, they're not quite talking to each other yet, but he's hoping to get other accounting platforms, on the short-term horizon, because people are wanting this. But for now, it would be a little more clunky, but you can still pay your bills. The money's going to go out of the bank account, and then you'll see that inside of Xero. You'll just have to do a little more matching and a little more typing.
Well, it should match, right? My understanding is Xero's going to take that bank feed, and then you'll do an add, right? And it'll match that to the bill, right? So you could use it. It's just you're going to have to do a little bit more typing. But if you're currently, the option you probably have right now is you're probably don't have a bill payment solution in Xero, and you're probably going to the bank website and typing the date, the vendor, and the amount. Well, you just have to type that into Melio, and you get a much better experience.
Right. Noemi asks, so can a client have both green and purple Melio simultaneously? Yes, if they're a QBO user. So if they're a QBO user, you're going to have both. And you're also using Melio. You've got your green and your purple Melio, and you just decide sort of what starting point you want to be in as you're paying your bills.
And you dance back and forth.
You can dance back and forth. All right. Sarah says, one of my giant issues with one of your competitors, David, Bill.com, is that the checks end up being thrown out because the envelopes are so plain. That ends up with Bill.com clearing being a disaster. Do you use a clearing account? I read that word for word.
We don't use a clearing account. So there's pluses and minuses to this, right? So we send an individual check for each bill, which is great for reconciliations, right? It's very clean that way. And then it's really clean. Like right now, the U.S. Postal Service is having some problems. We all know about this. It's in the news. So people are like, hey, the paper check, it never made it. And so sometimes we have to reissue the payment or reissue the paper check. And because it's all separated out for individual payments, it's not a big deal from an accounting perspective. You don't have any extra work to do. We just send out the new check. But you're right. If it was a batch withdrawal from your bank account or something like that, you'd have a lot more work and headaches to deal with. But yeah, it's nice and separated out.
Okay. I guess maybe get some more exciting envelopes too. I don't know. I haven't seen these envelopes.
I think this is a challenge. I mean, ours are, we've heard stories of people throwing our checks away as well.
Okay.
So it's I think, I don't know who does this, like what world we live in where people get checks, they just throw them away, but that's the world we live in these days. So use ACH and then you don't have to deal with that.
Amy asks, can we use Melio for invoices? Yes, that's the AR portion. So your clients could use that potentially. You as the accountant and bookkeeper can use that as long as it's business to business transactions. David, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just trying to get practice so I can talk to my clients about this. How long does it take? We've answered that. So yeah, someone says they have 1,000 questions, but he suspects he'll answer them. That was written early, so I hope they were all answered. Sarah Jones.
Email right there, accountants at Melio.
Yes, email David. When you say it's business to business for AR, how is that status determined? Do the business bank accounts and credit cards, sole proprietors live in a gray area as sometimes with business determinations?
Yeah, so we have a risk team that looks into that. In general, like if you're paying somebody that are 1099 contractor, like I pay my admin, she's a 1099 contractor, it's fine. But you're right, it does get gray very quickly with 1099 people because sometimes 1099 people either don't register as a business, they're using their social security number, or their bank account is like they commingle their funds and they just have a personal checking account, right?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the risk team does have to do some vetting and some research occasionally when it comes to 1099 contractors. But in general, if they do get approved, it's just they're basically they're trying to make sure you're not paying your babysitter, your personal babysitter with your
preschool. That's what I was thinking. I was
yes.
like, preschool for the points. I don't use a credit card, but that was one of our biggest bills in the past. Yeah. So I'm thinking, y'all, I'm just talking out loud. One of the problems I had when I paid the gal that I paid last week as a vendor, she's probably going to be someone I need to send a 1099 to. And since I worked in purple Melio instead of working in green Melio, when I set her up, I didn't have the track for 1099 box that you have when you set up a vendor in QBO. And so that is one of the things where you might realize that it's better to work inside green Melio instead of purple Melio. Just my own personal experience, throwing that out there. David, I got a couple more questions. Y'all who are listening, I hope you stay with me because I'm about to ask a doozy. So,
a doozy.
I have a handful of clients. I gave you an example of this one client of mine who started to use Gusto to pay a 1099 contractor when his bank made payments difficult. And he uses a crusty bank. I have a bank. Thankfully, I have a user login. I was surprised. But he couldn't pay this guy anymore. So he got into his Gusto and is now paying $6 a month to pay this contractor. So I need to talk to this guy. I want to be a great resource for my clients. How can what advice do you have for me? Can I use Melio in sales, in serving my clients, in making myself look like a rock star, and not use Melio to pay, but how can I take my knowledge that I've just learned from you and go post on social media, share? Do I write a blog post on my business website? I did make a video, so everyone listen. I recorded myself signing up to pay this gal last week. I haven't done anything with the footage yet, but I'm hoping, I'm trying, they're supposed to make content, right? I'm going to try to figure out how to black out, I had to like type in my bank account or whatever, my debit card number. So I have some editing to do, but do I send that to all my clients and say, hey guys, here's how y'all should start paying your bills? What do I do to make my business more awesome with Melio?
Yeah, it's tough because I've seen this with other accounts and bookkeepers. You have these clients that are just stuck in their ways, right?
Okay.
And they're still, you probably, the vast majority of the clients you're going to come across are still using paper checks to pay bills.
Yeah.
The vast majority. And some maybe have tried to use the bank website, but the bank websites, let's just be honest, they suck. Nobody wants to use those. It's horrible. It's not the best way to pay a bill. So if you can illustrate to them, hey, this is easier, right? I can schedule your bills for you. We could no more paper checks, and you can just approve the bills. So think about I would give the services you can provide. Like, hey, I can do this for you. You just have to approve them. You never have to pay your bills anymore. Or it's like, hey, yes, writing paper checks is not very secure. Your check number's out there. If somebody finds a check, they have your routing and bank numbers. Like there's a lot of safety concerns of using paper checks. There's delays in the mail service, versus using ACH services. So it doesn't sync to QuickBooks, those other methods. So I think if you play up on the time savings and how you can help them solve that paper check problem, which everybody has, and then because that's really what you're solving is you're solving the old method of paper checks and bringing it to a new online method.
So one thing that I have to pay every year is the city fee or something, and it's annoying, and they want to charge me a credit card fee if I want to pay via credit card, and it's like annoying to walk down there, and half the time I don't have a stamp, and it's just like I want to pay this. So like for sure I'm paying that via Melio because y'all can send them a check for me if that's like what they prefer. But where was I? It was Oh, yes. So I don't have any clients that I do accounts receivable or accounts payable for, but yet, so, I'm in these bookkeeping groups and you like look at their websites and it's like list your services, and everyone who's still listening and listens later, that's something that we can do. And so this talking to you, David, makes that sound a lot less scary to a new bookkeeper like me who has pretty simple clients. And I'm not playing in the big leagues here in terms of my companies. I'm not wanting any client that needs me every day. But this is pretty nice. I mean, I could schedule them out. I still could do bill pay, but it's not something that sounds, that might sound intimidating to people, like, oh, I don't want that responsibility. But really it's just taking the information, looking at the dates, you schedule them out. So you could come up with the workflow, guys, using Melio. Like this is how it's done. So if you're sitting in this group and you're like, people talk about accounts receivable and accounts payable services, like this is how we do it. I haven't done it yet for a client, but I could see myself, I just feel a lot more comfortable, even having practiced that one time. So everyone needs to just pay your next vendor, pay your next bill via Melio, and it'll make everything that, and then come back and watch this video again, and it's going to make 10 times more sense, and then pay 3 bills and it's going to make 100 times more sense, and then you'll be an expert and you won't even need to call David anymore.
Yeah. I think the nice thing about Melio, it actually takes the risk off you as an accountant or bookkeeper. I think a lot of times accountants and bookkeepers don't want to touch accounts payable because they don't want to be the one. Business owners are like, oh, sure, Kate, sign my checks for me. But accountants and bookkeepers are like, I don't want to be doing that, right? You don't want that responsibility. Well, with Melio, you get that buffer because you can just schedule bill payments and let the business owner approve them before they go out the door.
Cool.
Right? And then that way you can do all the drudgery work that maybe the small business owner doesn't want to do. But you still get the safety that you want, which is I'm not the last one saying approve before that money leaves the bank account.
And not only do we get that, we get to start charging them more.
Yes, you can charge to do this.
This is a service, y'all. This is so everyone you start doing this for, maybe create that piece of content that's like, hey, the 5 clients that you have, like, I want to introduce you to Melio. Here's a quick, send them a couple links to some of the professionally done videos that Melio has done, the short ones, something like that. And then 2 weeks later, say, hey, did you check out Melio? We could work together on me doing this for you. So that's how we use this to grow our businesses, y'all. Any other questions?
Sign them up. You could just sign up and just set their bills up, like schedule them. I mean, it's hard to schedule if you don't have their bank info, right? But it's really just jump in and test. Like find a client that's a little bit more open to you testing with, and put that client on, like you said, or just pay that first bill.
Perfect. I'm not any other questions coming through. No, I'm looking at my questions. So I always like to try to get the good, the bad, and the ugly out here. Any shortcomings in Melio right now that you can just tell us and say it's not what we like, we're going to be fixing it, but give us the ugly?
I totally do that. So I'm brutally hard on this. Like I'm using it to run my own business. Right. I said that about that comment about I don't like it when apps mess up my QuickBooks data. So I'm super, super hard on the team. And I have a list of hundreds of things we need to fix. And some of them are like, I would say are no-brainers, but they're, if you think about it, and I talked about this before, it's perfect product for small businesses. The founders created Melio. They talked to 500 small businesses and made this amazing product for a small business owner. But small business owners only care about, like we talked before, the check number, the date, and the amount, and did it get paid? And that's about all they care about. Accountants care about so much more. So an example of this, for when we send a bill payment to QuickBooks, we don't put the check number on it.
Okay.
And it's just like for us as accountants and bookkeepers, you're like, hello, so obvious, but no business owner, because a business owner doesn't do a reconciliation.
Right.
A business owner never said it's important to have the check number there. So I'm working with the team. We're going to make the QuickBooks integration, honestly, between me and you, I'm putting a stake in the ground. It will be the best QuickBooks integration of any app on market.
Well, it already looks just like it.
That's just the colors, but all the extra little stuff we care about, the data, right? Like that's what I'm working on to get deeper integrations with.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that. I always want people to know that I'm not going to like let people coast here.
No, I have trust me, I have a list. I have a pretty big list.
All right. Best place to learn more about Melio. You guys, I'm going to put my link again. So to get to actual Melio, if y'all could use my the tracking link that David gave me. It's not an affiliate link. It's just a way for him to know where traffic is coming from. But kind of in general, do y'all have like a YouTube channel?
We're on this journey, right? Like I said, we just unwrapped this yesterday. That's my next focus now is like, okay, product's kind of out the door. Now, how do we build out more content, more help files, more videos? I downloaded an app to make videos. I haven't used it yet. So it's just running there in my task tray. So it's more content and more help and things like that are coming out for sure. Right now, you could definitely just go to meliopayments.com/accountants. You can also email us at the email address. I'd say like things are very dynamic right now. Like every day there's something new that wasn't added the day before. And so we're just a rapidly growing company. I'm easy to get a hold of. You can always shoot me an email if you have a question. Hopefully in theory, you'll find that Melio is so easy to use, you kind of don't need a lot of training. It's super easy to use. It's just like when you signed up for Venmo, did you go watch a bunch of training videos?
No.
Right? Like you just used it. In theory, knock on wood, Melio should be that easy. And hopefully you find it that easy.
So any of y'all who are great with video, beat David to the YouTube SEO stuff. Make your video, make a few Melio training videos, get them up there, and you'll be listed higher than him when people say, "What is Melio?" And people to connect with you. What's the best way? Where can we find you?
Well, obviously, for me personally, the easiest way is Twitter.
Okay.
So I'm at David Leary on Twitter. Listen to my podcast, Cloud Accounting. You can hear from me every single week if you listen to the podcast. Cloudaccountingpodcast.com, and that would get you there. Or any podcast app you have, just search for Cloud Accounting Podcast, and we'll come up on that. That's probably the easiest way. You could contact me on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is so messed up with so many spammers. Like the real messages just get lost.
Okay.
So Twitter's the easiest, least amount of friction. But again, my contact information's out there. If you couple Google searches, and I think you'll probably email everybody with my email address anyways.
Yes, a plug for the accounting podcast, Cloud Accounting Podcast, y'all. So I would say in terms of making me feel like I could walk up, like I could hold my own in a conversation about small business as kind of like the accounting person if I'm ever in a conversation. I've said this a lot. Every once in a while, I'll put a clip of yours, David. I think I usually tag you. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Because I listen pretty much every week. And this is not Melio related at all. Listen to the Cloud Accounting Podcast as you're beginning your journey, and you'll just start to learn how to talk like we're supposed to talk. You'll learn words. I was out of the workforce for 7 years, essentially. And it's intimidating to go back. And there's a lot of people, not everyone's like that has a story like that, but a lot of y'all do. And it really helped just kind of general. It's a news podcast. It's a small business and accounting news podcast. And so you'll learn the apps to say, you'll learn what to research. I can't speak more highly of it. I listen to it whenever I'm working out, which, I don't need to like pump me up music. I'm listening to nerdy accounting stuff. But I really do that and believe that. And I encourage other people who are new to just listen with an eye to, a lot of it's never going to apply to me, but I'll feel like I could, if I'm in a conversation with a small business owner and it kind of goes that a direction, I'm not going to feel like I'm out of the loop. I have no idea what's going on in the world anymore. So that's why I think it's good for people in our community, the Bookkeeping Side Hustle community, to listen to the Cloud Accounting Podcast.
Hopefully it saves you time, because we're plowing through thousands of blog posts, thousands of news articles every week, and just bringing the important ones to the table. And so you as an accountant or bookkeeper, you could skip reading a bunch of blog posts that week, and then our show notes will be the most important ones in general.
Well, especially people in the Bookkeeping Side Hustle community, because we're kind of starting off on borrowed time already. Like we're up at 5 in the morning. This is like none of us are reading. We need to read like the one article you tell us to. We need to catch the first 20 minutes of the podcast, and we'll still be better off than trying to, guess at one article to read. So just put it on while you're folding clothes, y'all, nursing your baby, whatever. So, David, thank you.
Thanks
Ginger
for having
Power
me. I appreciate
Hour.
it. Yeah, Ginger Power Hour. Funny.
Y'all, reach out to David, reach out to me if you have any questions, and I really appreciate it. If y'all like this demo, let me know if there's any other things we need to have demoed. This was our first demo. It's normally just more of an interview, so I'm excited. Thanks for letting us be the
come
first
back and do an interview too. You could pick my brain about 20 years of everything if you want.
Oh
one day. We
man,
could do
the
that.
intuit.
Or maybe if you want to be very exciting, we could bring Blake on. Blake and I could both come on once. That would be exciting.
We'll have to see. I gotta figure out what school's gonna. Yeah. School starts Tuesday.
It's hard though. As soon as you get a third person schedule involved, it's very logistically hard to do these things. Yeah. As soon as there's 3 people, but yeah, and Blake might even be happy to come on one day. You reach out to Blake for sure.
We'll figure something out. Thank you so much. I learned a lot. Everybody. I'm excited to actually use Melio. Like guys, follow me. If I ever. When I slice and dice my video, I'll let y'all know. Hopefully this happens in September. Y'all can see what sort of marketing material I'm trying to do. I'm giving it my best shot. So
awesome.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Thanks,
Talk to you later. Bye.